Hi, it's Rob from the Brush and Balkan. Today I'm going to be doing a quick tutorial on how to paint eye lenses. So the first colour we're going to use is Citadel Mephiston Red. I'm going to do a nice smooth layer on top of each eye lens. Now depending on what base colour you want, which lens you want, depends on what colour you use here, but the principle is the same. For the Death Guard, for example, I usually use Vallejo German Cam Bright Green because that gives a nice vivid green lens. But for the Lamenters, I'm doing red lenses on them, so the Mephiston Red will be what we're working on today. Like so. Next we're going to shade these using Citadel Druchii Violet. This just to give a nice dark edge to the lenses. So when you put that on, you want to make sure you've got a nice shaded area right the way around each edge of the lens. You can see here I put a little bit too much Druchii Violet on that lens. So all you do is take it off your brush and just absorb a little bit of the excess shade from there. What I found with this one is the left lens doesn't hold the shade as easily around the edge at the bottom of it as the right one does. So you will see me reapplying a couple of times to each lens. For some reason the very edge of that lens just wouldn't get that dark line around it, so I kept trying to apply it with a little bit more and a little bit more, and eventually got it to a stage that I'm quite pleased with. Like so. Now we're going to return to Citadel Mephiston Red again. We're just going to do the majority of the lens with this, leaving the Druchii Violet around the edges. Now if I was doing the green lenses, I'll be using the German Cam Dark Green and then using Citadel Biel Tan Green shade to shade the lenses. But then for the reflections and the light on it, I'll be using exactly the same method as I would do for this lens. See a cat hair hanging off his elbow there too. Got one cat with really fine fur, and you tend to find it absolutely everywhere. Unfortunately, my armies are no different to everything else. With those two layers done, we're now going to add a little bit of white to the Mephiston Red. I'm going to be working on the rear end of each lens. I'm going to be putting a crescent of this lighter shade over the majority of the rear end of the lens. Nice close up of my thumb there. And back to the focusing on the lens. The final section. Like so. Now I'm going to add a little bit more white to the previous mix. We're going to do a slightly smaller highlight than the one that we've just done. So when you're adding this colour on, you want to be highlighting a slightly smaller area than the area you've just highlighted. So leaving the Mephiston Red, the previous mix, on show. Like so. I'll just add another little bit of white to the previous mix. I'm going to do one smaller pink highlight on the lens. It's going to be, other than the pure white, the final highlight to each lens. Like so. Unfortunately the video cut off there. Now we're just going to use a little bit of Druchii violet. I'm just going to put a little spot of that at the front of the lens to darken that down again. Like so. Now the final colour we're going to use is Vallejo White. Any white will do here. All we're going to do is put a really thin line on the rear edge of those highlights on each lens, and also one little white spot on the front of the lens. You might have noticed a little dodgy white spot on one of the lenses there. I quickly repainted that, and then when the video cuts in a moment, I'll go back and I repaint that with the correct spot on. So here we go, with the bad spot taken off, repainted. I'm just going to put a tiny spot of white on that lens too, like so. And finally we're going to use a little bit of Citadel gloss varnish. We're just going to put gloss varnish across each of those lenses, just to give them a little bit of a shine, a little bit of a reflective look. And that is the lenses finished. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content. Also, think about subscribing to some of our other social media linked below. Thanks very much.